Welcome to another session of Breaking Bread. Today I have a very interesting topic. But before I go into the actual topic, this is a two-part episode. And the first part, I'm going to tell you an illustration that I've come across in my studies and my research. And this illustration goes like this. It's about the widow, the thief, and the prince. So once there was a prince that would be king one day. So he wanted to know how to govern the people. So he disguised himself as a merchant when they opened up a store and started operating as a merchant to get to know, about the people. Also, there was a widow. And the widow had one son, her only son. And this son was a reminder of her husband who had transitioned unexpectedly at an early age. And then we had the thief. The thief was terrorizing the community, robbing and stealing, assaulting people, so forth and so on. So the widow, she, had this son and she loved him, cherished him in the heart. And she was preparing him to, for his future. So the son went off to go to work. And he went to go, to gather some monies so he could go to school. But as he was working, he was sending his mother money. He loved his mother dearly, and the feelings, emotions was mutual. So while he was away again, he was sending his mother money, and the mother was actually putting up some of the money. So down we have the prince, who is also the merchant. He's at the store, he's doing what he do, and this particular day, the thief come upon him. And the thief, he attempts to rob the prince, who is the merchant. They get into a tussle. The merchant, who is the prince, he overcomes the thief. And he looks the thief in his eye. He said, "Why are you doing these things? I have heard about you. And I would have given you freely, gladly, if you have only asked." The prince looked the thief in the eyes and said, "If I see you again, I will not be so kind to you." He said, "Go and change your ways." So the thief, he seen something in the prince's eyes, and he knew that there was a serious issue. So he went out and he changed his ways. But as some time went along, that old head came up in the thief, and he started robbing and stealing and, abusing people once again. Now the widow's son had worked to the point where he had gathered sufficient funds to go off to school. So his mother and him was going to have a gathering the day before he go off to school. So he returned home to his loving mom, hugged her, kissed her. She hugged him, kissed him, and she told him, she said, "Son, I appreciate all you have done for me, and I have put aside some of the money that you sent me so you can have some money extra when you go off to school." And so they had dinner, and as they retired for the evening, the day that the mother and the son expected would never come. On account that very night, the thief came upon the widow's house. He broke in, he creeped in the joint, he seen the bag of money, he grabbed it. The son woke up, and they got into a tussle. And the thief pulled the knife out and stabbed the son, and ran off into the night. The widow had heard the tussle. She went out to go see what's going on. She seen her son bleeding, his life ebbing away from her. She was brokenhearted. She went, covered her son, and cried and cried and cried. This was a horrific thing because nothing like this had never happened in that little area. So people knew that it was possibly the thief, but nobody could prove it. Till one day, the thief had gone to the hub He got his drink on. He was tossing them back. Then he started speaking recklessly. Yeah, I robbed the widow, killed her son, and I got the money and I'm living grand. They said before the thief could finish saying his words, the authorities was upon him. So the authorities, they got him, locked him up. The thief had come down off his drunkenness and he was trying to find a way how to escape this situation that he was in. But because this province never had such a case, they usually take everything to the magistrate. But this time, they had to take it to the king. So once they get to the king calls the thief in. And when the thief walks in, he turns white. He's horrified because now he sees the king, who was the merchant, who was the prince, about to pass judgment on him. So the king, who was the prince, who was the merchant, said, what do you have to say for yourself? Previously, we had a run-in. I told you, if I see you again, I will not be so kind to you. So the thief didn't have nothing to say. They said that the king, who was the prince, that was the merchant, he cast the judgment on the thief, sentenced him to the execution. So they came and got the thief and took him away, and he was executed. Now the moral to this illustration is that the prince that was the merchant, who eventually became the king, is none other than Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Christos, came amongst humanity, and that's who the thief symbolizes. All that have erred and have came short of the glory of the Most High. And the judgment is that once we see the prince who had become the king for the second time, there'll be no excuses. So please, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know him, get to know him and preserve your life to come. Okay, that is that little illustration. I have some more of those, and I'll bring to you in the future. Now I'm going to get down to the topic at hand. And today's topic, I ain't going to be very long on it because the illustration took longer than I thought. Today's topic is, who is in the grave? Now, for me, I have made an analysis into this, and I've come to the conclusion that there's nobody in that grave. And the teachers actually proved this. And even the preachers and things, they said that, when they be giving their funeral service, they say, man, the person has gone home to God. They didn't say the person has gone home into the grave. People go to the grave. The grave is a symbolic gesture, a memorial in a sense. But my question is again, who is in the grave? And if you can prove to me that somebody's in that grave, any of these graveyards around the world, I'm open to that information. My theory is, from my studying and research, even though I know that they talk about the second, the resurrection, the blowing of the horns, and people coming up out of the graves, if that be the case, I am pretty sure it is not those graves that we got on this physical plane. Teachers teach that once we transition from this form, we go into the next life. And in the next life, what meets us is how do we demonstrate it in this life. Now, if you lived a riotous life, selfish life, all about, narcissistic type of life, greedy life, that's the life that's going to receive you when you come to the other side. It only makes sense. If you lived the life according to the teachings, the morals and your principles, and you made the necessary adjustments, you learned the lessons. Because this is a classroom. The earth is a university within the universe, of the cosmos. and the dimensions and the frequencies and the ethers. So it's all about the lessons that we learn. I don't know who's going to what level, maybe higher levels or lower levels. Only thing that I do know from my studying is that there is laws that govern this realm that some of us refuse to heed to because we think that we know what we know when we don't know nothing. We have come to the conclusion from educated ignorance and said, yeah, this going on in the next life, it ain't no next life, it ain't no God, so forth and so on. And we are free, you're free to think that, but I disagree. And I have life experiences that hopefully I get an opportunity to share with you in the future. But again, if you can prove to me that somebody is in that graveyard, may they be energy, physically or mind, I would like to hear your ideology and your philosophy with some concrete evidence that will be persuasive to have me to believe that. And again, before I conclude, I'm not saying that there's nothing happening on the other realms and energies and ethers and things, because I don't know. But I know if I go dig up a grave, the only thing I'm going to see is some dry bones. With no flesh, no blood, no circulation, no breath, no nothing. Just a remnant of what was there before. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed this session. I will bring another session probably quicker than I did this one to this breaking bread because I really didn't get to get down like I wanted to get down with the topics that I wanted to expound on. I had several things to speak on besides who's in that grave. The grave that I know about is the grave within inside of us. That's why they say some of us are walking around the living dead. People are alive and they're active and they're moving and they're eating and they're sleeping, but they dead. They dead in the inside. They're in the grave in the inside. And that, before I go, let me tell you, one day I was listening to the radio. Brother Tony Evans from Texas, he was giving it up. And he said that according to the teachers, that Mary, she had went to the grave or the tomb where they had Yahshua, Jesus, Isu. And she said that the angelic being said, why are you looking for the living amongst the dead? He has risen, resurrected. And a light bulb went off in my head. I have read that illustration many times. And the conclusion that the Most High had revealed to me that Yahshua, Jesus, Isu, Jesus, Isa is in the tomb of every human being's heart. And there is a boulder of hardness that blocks the tomb doorway so that the spirit or the entity or the energy of the Christos or the Christ could not take its position within the temple on the throne of the kingdom of man and woman and children. So, hardened hearts, disbelievers, even if you don't believe in God, God is inside of you. And God is inside of you by the identification of the Christos, of the Christ, because he have gave authority to this particular figure that came through and demonstrated that which is pleasing unto the Most High. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you this message in love. I leave you this message in peace. Peace, love, and goodwill with all humanity. Hey, pay attention to what's going on. Pestilence, plagues, the tyranny of governments, people no respect of life. These are prophecies that have been predicted in the ancient times or the former times that people said, you know, we become desensitized to these things. People selecting their agendas. People say, man, that's okay. Hey, it's okay to individuals according to their understanding, but is it okay? I'm not the judge. I'm just bringing you the message. And the teachers say, hey, tell them what you tell them. They're not going to listen no way, but their blood won't be on your hands. Peace, love, and goodwill. praise him that raised him.